What is the hardest level in Geometry Dash? This may seem like a simple question at first, but the more you look into it, the question becomes more open-ended. Starting as a spin-off of the Impossible game, it is clear to see that players and creators outdoing each other in difficulty was going to be a major factor in this game's popularity, especially with an easy-to-use level editor and a verification system for legitimate levels being uploaded. One major question to ask then, what would be the hardest level in the game? Holding the title of the most difficult level in a game focused on difficulty as a major aspect is something that many players and creators alike strive to do. When starting the game for the first time, new players might look towards the main levels, made by RobTop, to both introduce them to the game and learn how to improve by using the simple difficulty curve introduced by the main levels. The first few levels start out easy, but by the end of the 21 official levels of the game, the player will notice 3 locked levels of a new difficulty. This difficulty, the Demon, is even more difficult than the many insane levels that they will have completed by that point. The 3 levels in question, Clubstep, Theory Everything 2, and Deadlocked, provide a big challenge to new players in the game. Of the 3, Deadlock is generally considered the hardest, both introducing new concepts as well as greatly expanding upon existing concepts, with its use of triple speed wave and moving objects to create memory as examples of such. After advancing all the way to Deadlocked, players often seek new challenges, and the game provides that for them with the addition of user-created levels. Now, players will notice there are multiple different variations of the demon difficulty, with extreme demons being the hardest. More advanced players often consider Deadlock to be a medium or hard demon, so the new difficulties of insane and extreme demons are a massive step up already. Upon seeing the vast array of over 300 extreme rated demons, it may be difficult to grasp how hard each of them are in comparison to each other. Fans of Geometry Dash have for years been comparing level difficulty in fan-made top 10 lists or videos showing off the hardest things they know of. This is where players will find out about the largest and most popular list in the game, the Pointer Create Demon list. Pointer Create and its demon list seems to give us our answer immediately, showing at the top of the list the hardest beaten rated level in the game. Tartarus by Riot and more is the hardest level in the game according to this list. However, this isn't exactly the aspect of the game I want to talk about. The question posed is not what the hardest beaten and rated level in the game is, but the hardest level in the game. Upon looking closely at the rules and being a part of the community, you can find levels that haven't been rated yet and are very much deserving of being on the list.
I verified it! Yes! Yeah!
With the hardest of which, Promethean by N level being supposedly top 5 worthy on the demon list, and the second and third hardest both being worthy of the top 10. Some levels have even been removed from the list for their verification being cheated. At this point you may start to wonder, are there other purposefully cheated levels harder than extreme demons out there? The answer is yes, and that is a massive rabbit hole to delve into. One thing to mention really quickly is that I will only be mentioning physically possible levels in this video. Something like an impassable wall of blocks is incomparable to other levels as nothing can beat it, making it the same difficulty as all other physically impossible levels. The type of level I will include are levels that can theoretically be beaten by a bot playing perfectly. You may have heard levels like Silent Club or Thinking Space being called an old impossible level. If you look for more of these, you can find so many more levels that were top 1 when made that eventually got verified legit, and you can find an entire community of creators making similar levels harder than the current number 1. There is a list called the Hardest Impossible Levels list, which ranks these levels by difficulty, with the more frame perfects and faster spam levels being ranked at the top. The number 1 on this list is called Ballistic Wistfully by Eidos. This should be our answer then, correct? A level filled with completely invisible frame perfects, extremely tight strafefly, and 2-player mode to top it off. A level like this is completely out of the realm of any human beating it, but it is still not the hardest level in Geometry Dash. Looking at the rules for the impossible levels list, it limits the amount of clicks per second to only 20, while limiting the number of clicks in a second allowed to only 15. This is far less than the kinds of spam I'm looking for in this video. For that, we need to look for another list which has no clicks per second limit. Fortunately, there is another list called the Silent Levels list, owned by the same team as the previous list mentioned. This list has no cap for the clicks per second allowed. The hardest level on this list is called Metatheses by MaxFS. This looks more like what you'd expect as the hardest level in the Geometry Dash, with over a minute of frame perfect wave spam at 4 times speed, calculated to be 4,000 clicks per second per player, totaling 8,000 clicks per second at its fastest point. This is a lot closer to the goal of this video, but you can still see some rules stating that the level must be of decent quality, as well as a list limiting click counters to 45 clicks per second, and only allowing levels above 30 seconds. If the question is the hardest level in Geometry Dash, the quality of the level should not matter, and thus the search continues. After looking over several lists, pouring through dozens of GD accounts and looking at thousands of silent levels over the course of researching this video, I have compiled a list of what I believe to be the top 10 hardest physically possible levels in the game. Minus World by Ice Cave was a level made for Ultra Venom's list of hardest impossible levels back in 2016, making it the oldest level on the list by far. It was made as a joke level to not only top the list but also show how easy it was to make impossible levels, as it was made in only 20 minutes. While the highest click per second this level reaches is only for a little over 2 seconds, the rest of the 3-minute long level is full of fast spam that reaches between 100 to 200 clicks per second. This level historically is used as an example of a terrible impossible level with its use of default spies as most of the objects. The level originally was physically impossible but was fixed recently. Beholder of Miracle is a level by the creator of other popular impossible levels like Realm of Bloodshadow and Kingdom of Miracalis. However, unlike those other levels he is known for, this is not only his hardest level but the least decorated. This level presents itself with entirely black default blocks with a black background, making the level basically invisible to the player. This low visibility only makes the constant wave spam for over 7 minutes even more difficult. Many of the spams in this level continue for dozens of seconds, with its extreme length and by extension, the length of its spams being what carries it so far with its relatively low clicks per second compared to the other levels I will be mentioning. This level, similar to the last, was physically impossible but recently received a fixed version. Chefs is a level by Eve23, which was originally made for the silent level list. Heavily inspired by the level Back on Darkness by Killera, this level was made intentionally poorly as a joke. Despite its shorter length compared to the previous level, its extreme clicks per second more than makes up for that difference. The gap between the previous level and this one is rather large, with most of the levels after this point having an incredibly high clicks per second. The relatively short length holds this level back, however. If you thought that Chefs was rather short for this list, then this level may catch you by surprise. Multiply Club decorated by Fox with Hats is a level inspired by another level I will be talking about later, being Multiply Club by Blanket Addict. This is not, however, a level with the same gameplay and new decoration, but instead a simpler trigger setup. This level is the first instance in this list of something called a click counter. You may have seen levels which allow open spam and then reward coins for passing a certain number. Have you ever wondered how those levels work? They use triggers such as the touch trigger, count trigger, and pickup trigger to increase an internal number every time the player clicks or gives an input. The type of click counter used in this level is a rather primitive one compared to some of the levels I will be talking about later, but it is a good introduction to them nonetheless. This level requires 5,000 clicks in 1.05 seconds, which comes to about 4,792 clicks per second. Metatheses by MaxFS is a level built for the silent level list, as their current number 1 entry. Aside from silent levels list, the level has probably the best decoration out of this entire top 10, with it being made to be decently high quality impossible level. This is the only level on this list which has been botted without no clip, which is the video playing in the background now. As a former number 1 entry in the Silent Levels list, this level is a significant step up in difficulty from the previous entry. Despite the level's name, it is much higher than 15 clicks per second, requiring nearly 1,000 times that amount. The level copy and pastes a gap from another level that will be mentioned later, Dolorum Aeterna. However, due to copy and pasting around the space between objects, it ends up slightly larger of a space. The space is still nearly the same as the previous entry, but unlike the previous entry, which used 1 time speed for this gap, 15 clicks per second uses 4 times speed. Hardest Level by Convindix was a level built to be the hardest possible level in Geometry Dash to prove the point that difficulty doesn't mean anything if the level is poor quality. It is built as 4 minute of a copy-pasted clubstep monster with 4 times speed, wave and blue orbs. It is extremely repetitive, so there's not much to say about the level other than to point out the irony and its purpose while being put on this list. One fun fact is that the level was created in 15 minutes according to its creator. Hentai Club by I Like Patat 9, aka Woro, is an edited version of the level Minus Club by Exvolimnius. Minus Club is currently the 8th hardest level on the impossible levels list, which limits clicks per second to 20. So what makes this level so hard? Well, there is another level which uses a basic click counter. Hentai Club requires exactly 2,567,860 clicks throughout the level's duration, which comes out to a nearly 24,500 clicks per second. The level was made as a joke level to submit to Convindix's list of impossible levels and parodies levels like Final Destination by Iced Cave. Multiply Club by Blanket Addict is a level made for the shitty silent spam challenge list. This level uses a clever mechanic to require 10 million clicks per second. It uses 1000 layered toggle orbs with only one of them increasing the counter, the one toggle orb being a lower priority than the rest. The way that object priority works is the same as object layering. The object being on a lower layer than the rest makes it be hit last. This means that you have to click every single toggle orb to increase the counter by 1. The counter only toggles off the wall of blocks at the end once it reaches the number 10,000, and with the orbs being multi-activate, they all reset each frame. The toggle orbs are all scaled in a way that you have exactly 1 second to click the orbs, giving just enough room to increase the counter by the full amount needed at 10,000 frames per second. But what about the other orbs? How are you supposed to increase the counter 10,000 times in 10,000 frames if you need to click 1,000 times to increase the counter by 1? The answer is unexpected. You can actually click multiple times in the same frame. The reason this works is that each orb can only be clicked once per frame, making it so you need to click 1,000 times per frame 10,000 times, which comes out to 10 million clicks per second. Overall, this is an incredibly creative concept and the only level of its kind to abuse this for difficulty. I'm not even gonna bother saying the actual name, but 3 seconds hell times 2 powered by 48 is another level by Blanket Addict. This creator really likes pushing the boundaries with original trigger concepts, as this level, which only shows 1 minute and 55 seconds in the editor, actually takes over 29 million years straight to beat. To explain, this level uses an obscure glitch which saves priority between attempts through object layering with a specific setup. I won't go too in depth on how this glitch works, but you can check out the level 3 seconds held times 100 by the same creator for a full explanation of the glitch to see how this could work in real time. This glitch can be used on collision boxes to exploit the fact that collision blocks will keep the priority between attempts to store memory between attempts. This glitch, when used to its fullest, can create some incredible things when used by creative people. The way this level works specifically is by saving every time you get to where the level is supposed to end in a binary counter. It resets the binary counter every time the player dies, which requires you to complete the level 2 powered by 48 times in a row to finally toggle off the end wall. Without counting respawn time, this comes to just over 20 million years. However, with respawn time included, this increases dramatically to over 29 million years. While the level you are required to beat itself isn't hard, with multiple humans having beaten it 6 times in a row before, the probability in beating even an easier level that many times in a row is astounding. As an example, if you have a 99% chance of beating a level once, and you try to beat the level even 75,000 times in a row, you would have a 1 in 10 powered by 350 chance of beating it. Even still, 75,000 is only 0.00000002% of the number of times in a row you need to beat this level. The sheer length and probability in playing for 29 million years brings this level up to the number 1 position. As for Dolarum Eterna, it was originally going to be the number 1 in this video. However, during the process of editing it, the level was removed from the servers. Other than that, there's many levels I wanted to include. However, most of them are physically impossible due to the quirk and how their main difficulty is achieved. These levels all use a more advanced version of a click counter, similar to how Hentai Club and Multiply Club worked, but on a much larger scale. These click counters are dubbed speed clickers or Convindix style click counters after the original creator of the trigger design, Convindix. These trigger setups for a click counter work in theory. However, their downfall is the extreme lengths creators go to make their counters have large numbers. Speed clickers revolve around the idea of doubling the amount of inputs needed for every increase of the counter. This is done by using a setup of collision blocks and mood triggers. A touch trigger is used to activate a mood trigger each time you click. This mood trigger moves a main collision block in between 2 other collision blocks. The leftmost collision block doesn't move and is what increases the counter through a pickup trigger when collided with. The rightmost collision block, when collided with, makes the main collision block switch movement directions and then moves it in the opposite direction along with the main collision block. This effectively makes the number of clicks required 2 to the power of whatever number is put in the count trigger. The problem arises when you realize that doubling the collision block's placements makes the blocks move an extremely far amount in the X direction. Past an X position of approximately 2 powered by 32 blocks, collision between blocks stops working. This failure to collide past a certain point makes any click counter that uses exponentiation Convindix style physically impossible to complete. These broken speed clickers are used in several impossible levels, 3 of which I will talk about as honorable mentions, as their speed clickers are the only parts in which they are physically impossible. Some of you may be wondering why this is an honorable mention and not on the list. Well, as I was making the finishing touches to this video, I was testing Dolarum Eterna to see if the claim of it being possible on 133,000 frames per second was valid, as I could not find who originally tested that claim. Before I could find the lowest FPS for the level, I was talking to Fukuto, its creator, and he contacted an Eldermon to remove the level from the Geometry Dash servers. The only remaining copies uploaded are all older incorrect versions of the level. As the level is deleted, it can no longer be one of the hardest levels in Geometry Dash. Now, for my original part of the script where I was going to talk about Dolarum Eterna, which would have been placed in number 1. Dolarum Eterna by Fukuto is a level created by the hardest physically possible level able to be created with normal gameplay, by using wave spam copy pasted all the way to 16 hours in the editor. The 2 players have different paths, with one path being a straight wave movement, while the other player has their corridor constantly moving up and down, causing the overall clicks per second to fluctuate between 266,000 and 399,000 throughout the level. The actual gap the waves needs to fit through is so tight it can't be created in a normal GD editor, but used hack to make the blocks fit precisely to the wave's hitbox size. The choice to make the level 16 hours long was so that it extends to the player's X position limit. When investigating what the longest possible level could be, it was found that the player's X position will completely stop updating past a certain point, making going any further completely impossible. By extending the level up to this limit without exceeding it, Fukuto succeeded in making the longest single attempt level in the game, as well as the hardest without click counters. The next honorable mention I will talk about is Gay LOL Elite by Eve23 and Convindix. This was a level made for Convindix's hardest levels list. It uses a speed clicker which has 3 layers to it. Every time the main collision block collides with the left side, it makes the second level collision block move by 1. Every time the second collision block collides with the left side, it makes a third level collision block move by 1. The third level collision block hitting the left side is what increases the counter by 1. The counter itself requires 2 powered by 32 as the final count, which makes the amount of clicks necessary 2 powered by 2 powered by 2 powered by 32. You may be confused about the notation used in the clicks per second for this entry. The up arrow is in between the 2 and 1000, but after giving a brief overview of this level, I will try to explain it so that everyone can understand how big the number is. Deadly Silent Club was originally a level created by Carbonara back in 2016 for Ultra Venom's Impossible Levels list. In 2020, when Carbonara came back to GD, he dedicated to collaborate with Convindix on an update to the level, which would not only buff all of the gameplay but add several click counters. The main click counter that goes throughout the level works in a similar way to Gay Low Elite, with 2 sets of collision blocks used, but on a much larger scale. The difference is that both of the main moving collision blocks share a rightmost collision block. This makes the amount of clicks needed for the bottom main collision block exponential instead of multiplicative. The number of clicks needed for this counter is 2 double arrow 1000. For those unfamiliar with Knuth's up arrow notation, it is a way to describe repeated operations. A double up arrow, like in the number of clicks, denotes repeated iteration. Much in the same way that multiplication is repeated addition and exponentiation is repeated multiplication. Teteration is repeated exponentiation is what is commonly referred to as a power tower. In this case, 2 double arrow 1000 will be the same as writing 2 powered by 2 1,000 times. For those that need a comparison to grasp the sheer size of this number, 2 double arrow 3 is 2 powered by 2 powered by 2 powered by 2, or 65,535. 2 double arrow 4 is thus the same as 2 powered by 65,535, which has 19,729 digits. Even with the numbers this small, you can see the vast expansion of numbers using teteration. The previous level mentioned, Gay Lol Elite, has a number that is unfathomably big, yet is only comparable to 2 double arrow 5. Thus 2 double arrow 1000 is completely comparable to any other level in Geometry Dash. If the X position limits wasn't a problem, this would be by far the hardest thing ever created by a factor of 2 double arrow 995. The final honorable mention I will be talking about is Shatter 2041 Silent by Convindix. Similar to the prior mentions, this is another click counter based level. Unlike the previous ones, however, which use collision block movement for their counters, this level uses a different method called item counter stacking. Basically, the idea works by using pickup and count triggers to activate another set of pickup and count triggers, which then resets the previous counter. When you click once, it increases a primary counter by 1, and then after that main counter hits the set condition, in this case 10,000 clicks, it increases the next counter by 1 and resets itself. This is done for 200 counters stacked, which makes the number of clicks needed 10,000 powered by 200. So if this level doesn't use object movement for its exponentiation, why is it only an honorable mention instead of the new number 1? The answer is quite simple, which is that it is missing the final pickup trigger, which would increase the 200th counter. This means that all 199 other counters work fine, but the last and most important counter, as the one which toggles off the wall of blocks at the end, never increase, and thus physically impossible. Going back to the classic collision block method by exponentiation, I made it a goal to make a working version of one of the honorable mentions. Specifically, I tried to fix Gay Lol Elite. I brainstormed a lot, and eventually, after thinking for a long time about if it would be possible to fix these broken speed clickers, I came up with not a solution, but a concept which delays the eventual X position breaking. This method uses the same collision block doubling as a typical speed clicker, however it uses a wall of collision blocks on the left and right sides past where the other leftmost and rightmost collision blocks are. These collision block walls are used to teleport any collision block within the system to the opposite side while keeping their movement direction. They do one other thing, however, which is either adding or subtracting 1 to the collision block's Y position. Using this Y direction movement, the X position of an object can be stored without needing to actually move as far in the X direction. This can be represented as the object's total X position being their current X plus within the system, plus their Y position, times the number of X units in width of the system. This isn't a permanent solution, as groups are limited to 1000, and once you pass that amount of groups extended in the Y direction, there's nothing stopping the collision blocks from doubling past the X limit. Using this new idea of mine, I decided to make my own click counter level to be the first and only speed clicker style counter to be physically possible. Without further ado, I present the level Tower by X Volumnius. Tower is a level I created to maximize the number of clicks needed for a physically possible Convindix style speed clicker. The level uses all 999 loops with a Y position storage tower and moves a leftmost wall over 13 million blocks away, to the highest number I could get while keeping move trigger position. Through this method, the number of clicks I calculated as necessary are 35 trillion, 184 billion, 372 million, 88,840. This is done by calculating how many clicks one collision block would take to reach the end of the Y-axis tower, and finding the closest power of 2, which is still lower than that. With that power of 2, I added together the sum of all previous powers of 2 to simulate the collision block doubling and going back to the beginning. There's no counter involved. The wall at the end actually toggles off once the main collision block hits another collision block which is placed just outside of the width of the tower, ensuring that instead of ever breaking, it would simply finish the level. As of right now, Tower is the hardest physically possible level in Geometry Dash, as its massive clicks per second count outranks anything else in the game. In order to complete this level, a bot would need to click at 22.12 trillion clicks per second for the duration of the click counter, being 1.59 seconds. In order for a human to play this, the speed of light needs to be taken into account. This can be handled by pausing once every 3 frames for a duration of 4 frames. If you alternate with the mouse button, spacebar, up arrow and the escape key, you can complete it with around 100 million clicks per second per input button, as long as you keep pausing to stay within the speed of light. The initial question of the video has finally been answered. With a game as expansive as Geometry Dash, its editor can be used to create a wide array of different things. I hope this video was able to show you something new, as well as highlighting more creative ways of making the most difficult thing. It's always inspiring to see creators push the editor to its limits and rise to new heights of difficulty, and who knows what the future holds for difficult levels. I'd like to give a special thanks to the few people who helped me with this video. Vitesse, Blanket Addict, and Convindix helped me with some of the research for this video, as well as explaining difficult concepts that eventually led to my own entry using those ideas. I'd also like to thank me for helping to narrate my script for me. This video has been in the research phase since early 2020 since I kept putting it off, and I'm happy to finally have finished it and out to you guys. If you're still watching to this point, thanks. I didn't expect to make a video this long or detailed, and a lot of work was put into it, so look out for more videos hopefully.